First order of business is the approval of the minutes from January 27, 2022. Any changes or corrections?
None.
Did you say you had one? No. Okay. Next up, the financial statement.
Thank you. This is a summary of revenue and expenditure activities for the City of Hayes, month ended December 31, 2021. Revenues in December totaled $8,846,538. That's an increase of $270,480 as compared to the same period last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue when we compare to December of 20. Coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriations increased airport federal aid by $256,000. Miscellaneous revenue for Commission Capital Reserve increased due to the $375,000 received from HRC for half of their commitment to the turf project at the Bickel-Schmidt Sports Complex. Month-to-date local alcoholic liquor tax was up $39,000, with year-to-date up $26,000. Keeping in mind that this tax is on drinks at restaurants, not at liquor stores. So this increase is likely due to an uptick in business at the restaurants. New transfers were created at year-end for CVB. The transfer to reserves was $450,000, while the transfer to the sinking fund was $7,960, and court costs and fines were up a combined $12,760. A couple of notable areas of revenue decrease. You may have noticed the credit entry in the Airport Improvement Fund for $121,435. This is a correcting journal entry to move the CRISA funds disbursement from airport improvement to the airport fund. Those disbursements are currently funding operations expenditures. And capital projects miscellaneous revenue fell $695,000 due to the transfer in at this time last year from the TDD to fund the East 41st Street project. Expenditures in December totaled $10,283,657. That's an increase of $2,218,991. Some notable areas of increased expenditure. December marks end-of-year transfers. We were able to increase several over what was budgeted for 21. Most notably, the new CVB transfer we mentioned. Also of note, the water fund transfer to reserves was increased $365,000. Commission Capital Reserve expenditures grew due to expenditures being cleared out for the Art Park in the amount of $500,000, as well as the ongoing turf project at Bickel-Schmidt. Fire department projects increased $25,000 to complete the new training facility. New equipment reserve was up $313,746 for several purchases, batwing mowers for parks, an aerial bucket truck for service, and a fire department skid unit. Notable areas of decreased expenditure: timing of the allocation to the Care Council for the access transportation dropped social services $40,000. TDD expenditures dropped that $843,000 due to that East 41st project, and water reclamation reserve fell $87,000 due to sanitary sewer port repairs conducted at this time last year. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $922,000. That's an unprecedented increase of $272,000, or 42%, as we compare to last year. Year-to-date general fund sales tax collections end of the year at $8,548,767. That's up $907,000, or 12%. 6 months average is at 13.8. That was an increase of 10.5% when compared to a year ago. And month-to-date, the county sales tax collections were at $110,800, with the year-to-date total ending $1,076,744. The report of top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was up $285,400, or 14%. The largest percentage increases were in electronic shopping at 99%, accommodation at 59%, and merchant wholesalers at 45%. Those top 10 represent 72% of the total sales tax collections for the running quarter. The portfolio certificates of deposit on December 31 totaled $10 million, with a weighted average interest rate of 5 basis points, down 56 basis points from a year ago. Total par value of the U.S. Treasury notes is $32,454,000, with a weighted average yield of maturity of 23 basis points. Total balance of the money market account on December 31 was $23.75 million, with a current yield of 5 basis points. Total investments are up $14,376,248. And then finally, in your packet, you have a summary of general fund revenue. Again, this is just general fund revenue and expenditure year end of 21. This is a similar format to what you'll find in the budget. These numbers are unaudited. There are a couple highlights to review. Total operating expenditures, which does not include that transfer to Commission Copper Reserve, so just the operating expenditures, finished the year $575,000 under budget. Total revenues ended the year $2,045,000 over budget. $554,000 of that attributable to ARPA funding, and then $900,000 to sales tax mentioned above. This contributes to the ability to increase transfers to the Commission Copper Reserve from the budgeted amount of $1.141 million to $1.6 million. And of course, budget constraints do not allow us to transfer any more. So the unreserved fund balance stays very strong at $3.9 million, and that should contribute to an increased reserve transfer for 2022.
Make a motion to approve the December 21 financial report.
Second.
We have a, excuse me, motion by Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Any questions or comments for Kim?
Fantastic report. And we finished December up 12%, or a year to date 12%, but we finished last year up 3%, correct? That's pretty awesome compared to what we came out of COVID, so that's kudos to him.
Even when you consider COVID, we were still up.
Yeah, I know, that's just unbelievable.
It's going to be tough to beat next year.
Yeah.
Well, it's extremely important, I believe, that we continue all the good things that we're doing in Hayes that bring people in to shop and people to feel like that the economy's good and they can be part of it. And I'm proud of what we're doing so far to make that happen. Thank you, Kim.
I'd like to, again, for clarification and emphasis, because this may come up in the next discussion we have on sales tax, but shopping online, Amazon, Walmart, we collect that sales tax.
Correct, and the state has done a better job of collecting that. Some statute was changed to require that now. It's not just brick and mortar. It used to be they used to have a presence in the state. Now they do not, and the state is doing a better job of getting that collected now also and enforcing that. So that has helped. Yeah, that's that 100 and some percent. That's part of that.
I think last year was like 78% overall increase, and as we're seeing here, 90-some percent. I think it'll continue to be strong, but again, for purposes coming up and just for the city's strength collecting it, we are collecting that online. So
That's a good point.
Any additional questions or comments? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next up, we have citizen comments for non-agenda items. Anybody in the audience wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have a city commission rules of procedure adoption and the cereal malt beverage license.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Musil. Any questions or comments on that? Not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next up, the USD 489 request for sales tax ballot initiative. Mr. Wilson.
Thanks for the opportunity to come before you and talk about sales tax and a request that we're trying to make. But before I get into my presentation, I'm going to talk about my week. And as we're heading into Friday, it's always good to reflect and say, what are the good things? And I want to share good things. Monday afternoon, our school board approved a resolution to go forth for a bond election set on May 10th, and it was a unanimous vote, and it was just a really good uplifting moment. Fast forwarding to that evening, I attended the Ellis County Town Hall meeting. Once again, it was just kind of an uplifting moment because so many people talking about the value and investments that are needed to maintain our community and our county and to be competitive. And so this evening I'm looking for a trifecta as I stand before you and talk a little bit about our request for a sales tax election request. So a little bit about where we're at. We began meeting back in the summer to talk about what our needs were for the district and where we could possibly go for the future. 1,300 man hours, We've had 2 public surveys go out to get the knowledge and the opinions of our patrons in our community. And from all of that work, we created a bond scope, and the bond scope was what was approved on Monday by our board. The reason that we're doing this, and I think sometimes people want to focus on facilities and the conditions of our facilities as maybe the reason why, that maybe our facilities aren't as good as we want them to be. Really, ultimately, this is about space. The need for space at all levels, at all our school facilities in USD 489. As you can see, this graph goes all the way back to 2006, 2007, all the way to the current year. As you can see, and we've had some dips, but overall, we're up roughly 300 students over that 15-year period. Now, 300 students in already small schools back in 2006, we've added that number, and it's created issues for us. We're making it work, but we would like to see some things change so we can do some different things and make things better. This is just a graph that kind of shows you where we're at in terms of student population in those buildings. If you start at Hayes High, you can see our population right now at Hayes High is a little over 900 students. But 2017, 5 years ago, it was 782 students. You can see the increase there. The building capacity, which is off to the side, is 862. Hayes Middle, currently we are over 700 students, 730 students at Hayes Middle. Just 5 years ago, Hayes Middle, we were 686. Capacity in Hayes Middle is 696. And as you can see, we're over capacity at all of our district facilities, with the exception of Lincoln being the only school facility that is not over capacity. Once again, emphasizing the need for space and the reason we're requesting a bond. So, in a summary, in a nutshell, this is our proposal. Build a new high school. This is planned on east of the current high school. The district owns 41 acres, and the plan will be to build that new high school there. Once that is completed, we would move our middle schools students into the existing high school with renovations. There'll be things that are needed at the current Hayes High, and will be renovated there. We'll convert the existing middle school into an elementary school. We'll be renovating Roosevelt on Laughlin, and we'll be moving Rockwell, the administration center, and West Side to Wilson, or the Wilson building. Our goal would then be to close Lincoln and Rockwell eventually down the road. All of these do exactly what we need. They all give us space, additional space, flexible space, and helps us, I guess in a sense, be ready for the future should we see some growth in our community. I always like to give the why. Why are we coming to you tonight to ask for a sales tax request to be put on the ballot to help us with the bond? In a nutshell, it's very simple. State aid is something that the Hayes USD 489 district does not receive. On this chart, you can see that all of our league schools have, and they're highlighted. That's because they've done bond issues recently, and they all receive state aid. Dodge City received 40% state aid, Garden City 23%, Great Bend 20%, and Liberal 38%. So everyone understands that. That is dollars that are sent from the state to Dodge City to help build new facilities. Hayes, we get zero state aid. We don't get any assistance. And also, just as a reminder, everyone in this room, is helping all those schools build new facilities with you. When you send your state tax dollars to the state, they are redistributing them to those areas in the form of state aid.
Hey, Ron, can I interrupt? So do people like, say, Goodland, Emporia, they contribute to that?
Yes.
Right? So it's statewide.
It's statewide. That's where state aid comes from.
What percentage of schools would you say in in the state of Kansas, maybe you don't know this, that receive state aid?
I would say probably, I want to say 80% receive state aid. There's probably 20%. The reason we are not is we're considered a property wealthy community, and that is the reason behind that. There's about 20% of the communities in the state who are also deal with this as well.
I'm curious on a stat with them, would they be able to pass, or have they passed larger bonds than they would, I'll pick on Great Bend, why not? If they had $100 million bond issue, but 20% state aid, why would they not just go ahead and do 120 if they're still getting the 100 that their own, but getting a 20%?
Yeah, and that's
And that's kind of,
sometimes-
if that
yeah.
question makes sense to you, are these other, for what you're trying to get past here, would it potentially be a bigger bond if we knew state aid was a part of it?
Well, I don't necessarily have an answer to your question in terms of why, they would not do this. I think where we're at is in Hayes, we have not passed a bond for over 30 years. 1992 being the last bond that we passed, that was considered a fix-it bond, meaning going in and fixing certain things in each building to try and get us caught up. So sometimes a lot of these communities have done bonds recently, or periodically through their time, and so sometimes their dollar amount is not as high because they've had things completed, and that's a little bit where we've gotten behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in this. So with our reasoning is trying to be creative in coming up with solutions. How could we help build new schools with assistance? Sales tax becomes our next thought, and why we're here this evening is because, in a sense, it's getting other people from other communities to help us, Hayes, build new school facilities, much like we do for other communities. And that's, in a sense, the reason behind the request. We did ask a survey question specifically about sales tax and would this help affect the bond. As you can see from our information, is that almost 52% said yes, this makes me more likely to support the bond if a sales tax question is added to the ballot. We did have some that said no, this would make me less likely to support. That was only almost 8%. Unsure, there was, can't see exactly what that says, 15, 18, and then, oh yeah, it's right there. And then this does not affect my support of a bond issue. That's right at 22%. Once again, that 22% can be interpreted several different ways. As yes, I'm gonna vote for it regardless, or no, I'm not gonna vote for it either way, whether you have a sales tax or not. You can interpret that either way. What this means and this is a residential homeowner. If you look at the total price tag is $143.5 million, and looking at a $150,000 home, that is $26.95 a month. With sales tax, you can see that drastically reduces the burden on a residential homeowner, as it would drop it $13, and you can compute that over 12 months. It's quite a savings. Once again, on a $200,000 home, it's $35.94, would drop it down to $21.56, almost $14 a month, which would be a little less than $200, which would be a savings. So the request this evening is that we're requesting the City of Hayes consider an election for a special purpose sales tax to be used to reduce the property tax requirement associated with our USD 489 bond project. This half-cent special purpose sales tax is only for educational purposes. The sales tax that would be collected would only be used for bond repayment. Sales tax would be for an initial term of 10 years, beginning in October of 2022. But however, and I think it's important, we always wanted to be forthright. Our intent would be to be coming back, a future Board of Ed would be to request to a future City Commission the extension renewal of this sales tax until all bonds for this projects are repaid in full. We feel very confident if this does pass, we feel like we could pay off our bonds earlier than expected. And you mentioned it. Sales, the pull factor in Hayes and the ability to gather sales tax from so many communities is unbelievable. It's 1.7%, which was very high in the state, one of the highest. This school bond project is not contingent upon the sales tax question passing. If we can get the school bond passed and the sales tax doesn't pass, we're good to go. Now, of course, that would mean that we would have a higher per monthly fee on the property tax.
Clarifying question on the sales tax in the mill. From my understanding, for clarity, that pull factor, if the sales tax essentially draws in, let's say, $1 million more than we kind of anticipate, then what that mill doesn't necessarily have to go up as much. Is that correct? Or as far as property tax sales? Or will that always be a stagnant, the property tax always be a stagnant number as well?
No, the property tax number will vary based upon how we budget for the school year. And
If that sales fluctuates some, then that property tax
Yes.
may fluctuate as well with it?
Well, it will help us pay it off earlier.
Okay.
So there'll always be, in terms of how our repayment, it will just be paying it off earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. Which can reduce that property tax once that's paid off earlier. And once again, sales tax would be contingent upon the school bond project passing. So, I think this is the board, or the Bond Vision Committee has done a great job in creatively looking at how can we put the best product that we can send to voters and give people an opportunity to really think about the investment that this is in our community. And I really truly believe that going forward, if we can get this passed, and with sales tax, it will be an investment that we're going to feel awesome about it when it passes, but it's the next 20, 30, 50 years, 100 years where we can look back and really see how we pave the future through the work together, organizations working together, because we understand that in a small community like Hayes, we all have to work together to get the best out of everything. So, questions?
I'll start again. I'm always breaking the ice on this one. Clarification on a walk-in ballot. To
Walk-in
vote.
ballot, it will be a 2-question ballot because we are county and we are school, 2 different entities. It will require a walk-in ballot, and we would not be doing a mail-in ballot.
Vote on the school bond itself is everybody 18-year-old that's registered to vote that is within the school district or a part of the.
Any registered voter inside our school district boundaries.
And to vote on the sales tax is just city residents.
I don't have a good response to that one. Is that correct? Yes.
Okay. So there could
That
be,
seems likely, but I didn't want to say.
on that ballot, if somebody
That's a
lives
good
outside
point.
the city limits, could be within the school limits and only get to vote on the bond. But within city limits, there will be 2 questions.
Right.
Okay, that's the clarification on.
That's a really good question.
Very good question.
But the sales tax won't enact if it passes, and the school bond would not, but God hope that wouldn't happen. But
Any other questions or comments, commissioners?
Last week.
I don't have a lot of questions. We all got, I think, 3 emails this week, which isn't a lot. Had one conversation from a business owner that I somewhat respect in this town. He's concerned, why so much? And my response is because we waited so long. And, I think you guys as a whole, to me, in the last 5 to 10 years, have done a great job of taking care of stuff. The biggest complaint I get from people all the time is, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do this? Well, you can't live in the past. We have to move forward. And, you know, I look at like this young man out here, he's probably going to go to Harvard, right? And then, you know, but when he graduates, hopefully he has, you know, maybe you want to come back to Hayes, you know, and be proud of, you know, where you live. And this is a big part. And, you know, one of my, I guess, initiatives since I've been on here is I want to grow Hayes. And we won't grow if we don't have better schools. I think we have great schools. I mean, the teaching is great. It always has been. But if we don't get this done, we're just going to be stagnant, if not go backwards. And I don't want to be part of that.
I agree. I think it's way past time that we haven't given our children the proper space in 40 years. That's the most shocking thing to me. It's 40 years since the last major construction. A lot's changed in 40 years.
Technology?
Yeah, technology's changed. How students learn has changed. 40 years. I mean, that's just absolutely mind-boggling that it's taken this long. But I think it shows that now people are finally realizing if we're going to invest and we want our community to thrive and sustain, we need to provide our children the space to learn and grow and prosper. And I think this is the time to do it. And like I said last week, I think it's a good opportunity for us to allow the citizens to make the choice on how they want to fund it. I personally don't think we should stand in the way of them being able to make that choice. So are there any other questions or comments?
The only other comment I have is exactly what you said, Mason. I have supported this bond issue this time around in every environment that I happen to be in, and I will continue to do that. That's not what we're not here to talk about in scope. We're here to find out, should we give this to our citizens to allow them to make the decision on how they want to take care of this? And I think we have an obligation to do that. So I'll be voting yes to do this.
I have one more question. I knew I had one. I thought about it. Because it was brought up at the school board, how the election itself is paid for, whether that's a school board payment, whether the city's involved in that payment.
So this is the actual request in terms of the
Sorry.
resolution.
I had one other question as far as, because it was brought up at the school board, as far as funding the actual election itself. Is that being funded by the school board? Is the city participating in whatever the cost is to run the election?
Right now, we have not addressed the city about incurring any cost for the election. I think, and at this point, unless I get different direction from my school board, we would, as the district, move forward with incurring the cost, because these are all facilities that will be. So.
And that'd be tough, not being budgeted for us.
Yeah, the plan never was to ask the city for any cost for the election.
I'll make more public comments at the end. I don't want to keep everybody here with my thoughts, and I don't mind keeping the commissioners around.
Yeah.
towards the end.
Clearly.
But I will address what Mason kind of brought up. The question was kind of brought up a couple times as far as being representative democracy versus direct democracy, and we are elected to represent. And most things we do, we have to make those decisions for the city. But this is certainly one of those opportunities where allowing the direct democracy, there's 3 months, I think, between now and that vote. There is no reason people can't be involved in making a decision on their own for our community. So for those people that think we should stand in the way of that, I think that's inappropriate on our behalf. Let the citizens decide over the next 3 months. Let the school board and the bond council and committee get out there and push for it, and the decision will be made.
Well said, Commissioner.
You know, one thing I wanted to, I guess, advise or mention, you know, when we had our roundabout project, we were trying to get out, you know, how do we get it out and tell people what we're doing? And we, you know, had the venue, and city staff put a great presentation. And I think we had one of the best turnouts we've ever had for anything we've ever done. So if you guys, I mean, I talk to people every day, and they always, so what exactly are they doing? Which I don't know how you get it out to everybody, but I mean, there's so many people that have questions, and a lot of them are good questions. But you know, that might be an idea, because I know they've had them at the schools in the past, and you go there and there's 10 people there, and you know there's a lot more people that care about it than 10 people. So you know, maybe that's an idea where it feels like it's on neutral ground. I don't know, just an idea. So.
Yeah, we met this week and started planning some strategies to put in place, and we understand we're going to work hard to get out to the people. We're not expecting them to come to us. We're gonna seek them out and really try to answer those questions, but also just spread the benefit of an investment like this, that how it can really just boost our community in so many ways.
I don't know if I can help, but if you want help, I'd be glad to help you guys.
Appreciate that.
You can have it
Usually
in
don't
the-
do the long ones, but I'll start. I move to approve resolution number 2022-006, authorizing and providing for the calling of a special question election in the city of Hays, Kansas, to impose a 1/2 cent, that is 0.5%, citywide retailer sales tax for the purpose of assisting Unified School District number 489 in the repayment of the principal of and interest on general obligation bonds to be issued by the district.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burgess and a second by Commissioner Musil. Any more questions, comments, or discussions, commissioners? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0.
It's a trifecta.
It was your trifecta.
Good luck to all you guys.
Should go buy lottery tickets now, Ron.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.
You could come every week. We like having you here.
Kim gives the financial report every month if you would like to come.
And Jeff is also entertaining, by the way.
If we can get applause every meeting.
We'd like that. We'd like that.
Next up on the agenda, Mr. Boyle, Larks Park foul ball safety net. You scared him away.
Thanks, Sean. Good evening, Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. I am here tonight to talk to you about the Larks Park foul ball safety net. So this is a picture of the existing structure. It's 50 foot tall, 46 feet across. It's got a polyester net on it, and it has been very problematic over the years, to say the least. And we are the reason we're here tonight is to request that this bit gets replaced. The design of it years ago, we were told was the best, and now I'm being told that no, those tripod type poles do not last, especially with some type of a net or anything in between them. They have a tendency to twist, which is what we're seeing. This is after the storm in December, the windstorm. That is the top piece of the that goes across between the poles to keep the poles from bending in. Last week we talked about those the fact that those poles used to be closer to the swimming pool. We moved them up to the backstop, added additional concrete to them. The poles still bent in. So we put these supports on them, and they've lasted a while, but they've been repaired 5 or 6 times now. So not a good situation. Here's another picture of it. You can see at the very top, that is the part that is of most concern right now. However, there are other parts of it that are broke and damaged. We did send out a request for bids for this. This is what, if you look at the 2 poles here on the left, if you could imagine those 2 poles sitting down there with the net in between them, that's what we would end up with. And these are 16-inch diameter poles, and again, they'd be 50 foot tall. Actually, we might actually get an extra foot or 2 out of them, sounds like, which is good. But these would be painted black, so they'd look nice. They would have the polyester net, which is the good netting in between them. So we did send out bids. These are the 2 bids that we received. We thought we were going to get more than that, but unfortunately we didn't. We talked a little bit last week about West Coast Netting. They have done some major sports fields, so they are a good company to work with. And Gorilla Netting is as well, but their price is higher. So when the pole broke in the spring of 21, the horizontal piece broke. I asked the insurance company to come down, take a look at it, and see what kind of funding they would allow to make repairs, necessary repairs. And they did give us a check for $18,557.10. We basically put that in the bank, and I went ahead and budgeted additional money for a total replacement. I budgeted that out of Special Park and Recreation Fund, $55,000. For those of you who may not know, the Special Park and Recreation Fund is the alcohol sales tax that comes in every year. So total funding available $73,557.10. Obviously, that's more than we need for the low bid, and we are asking for the remaining amount of that above and beyond the low bid for contingency. The reason we're asking for contingency is because there are some verbiage in the proposals that say if they dig down, which they have to dig down 10 feet to install the poles, if they dig down and hit rock or something, there will be additional costs involved. So we are asking that money be allotted if necessary for this project. With that being said, we will not spend it if we don't need to spend it. So
If you don't spend it, they just go back into your budget, right?
special parks, yes. These are the options that the commission has. And this is the action that we are requesting.
I move we approve the installation of a foul ball net and poles from West Coast Netting Incorporated for an amount of $69,800 plus $3,777.10, contingency for unknowns, for a total amount of $73,577.10, using $18,577.10 from the Park Improvement Fund and $55,000 from the Special Park and Recreation Fund.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. A motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Burgess. Any questions or comments for Jeff?
Just glad insurance did an extra 10 cents.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
dime.
that's nice.
I'm just amazed that there's enough people drinking beer at the ball games to give you $55,000.
Have you been down there?
Have you seen the line at a beer batter? Beverage batter?
Beverage better.
Jeff, when they do put the poles in 10 feet down, are they concreting that entire 10 feet down as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I just want to know if the people that told you it was the best thing going last time are the same people telling you it's the best thing going this time.
No, they were not even contacted.
Just checking.
Valid question.
Much needed. Good to see.
There's no other questions or comments. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Boyle.
much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Next up, street maintenance programs, award a bid, Mr. Jesse.
He didn't get an applause, guys.
Good job, Jeff.
At the bar now. Good evening, Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works, and I want to discuss with you tonight the consideration for award a bid for the 2022 street maintenance program. So as most of you are aware by now, every year we bring staff evaluates the streets using several factors, and we develop a maintenance program that is then brought forward to the commission for maintenance on our city streets. The street program is funded primarily through special highway funds, which I will note in 2022 included a transfer of $200,000 from the general fund. And as you can see on the screen here, so in 2022, as you can see at the bottom line there, there's just a little over $1 million budgeted for street maintenance in the special highway fund. One of the differences this year from past years is the federal aid, the ARPA funding you see here that was granted to the city. A portion of that did go into special highway to help offset some of the gas tax funds that were anticipated us not receiving. The other difference that I touched on briefly was rather than the $500 transfer from general fund, it was $200,000 in the 2022 budget. So for the 22 program, as you can see on this slide, you can see when we came to you back in November, this is how we recommended spending those funds. And so now that the projects have gone out for bid, I'll go over each one in a little more detail. But first, this map shows locations of the various projects. As you can see, there's 5 main projects, that being the Sealcoat Major Street Rehab, which is 22nd Street from Vine to Allen, 2 concrete alleys, 3 bridge decks, and an area of sidewalk. So just a note about the bids before I get into each project. We did open bids on January 18th. We had 10 bidders for 9 various projects. You can see the 9 projects here. some of them, like say the bridge deck repair, the concrete alley, or multiple projects there. And several of the bidders did bid on more than one project. The bids are structured so that bidders could bid on one or more of the projects. The first project, and this is a repeat, something we've done for several years, is Sealcoat. It's a bituminous liquid mixture that is applied over asphalt streets. As you probably know by now, it's got a smooth black finish. It does not have a rock surface or aggregate in it like a chip seal would. And the Sealcoat helps to fill fine cracks in the pavement that develop over the life of the street. Most of the streets identified for Sealcoat are located in areas that last received a chip seal 5 or 6 years ago. For Sealcoat, Circle C Paving was once again the low bidder for this project, as they have been for the last several years. They've done a really good job for us, and their low bid on this project was $213,194.88. Again, you can see the areas in various areas around town, kind of in the purplish color on your screen. Next one, again, we do this every year as well, is Poly Patch. And this is a rubberized tar product that does have aggregate added. It's basically designed for repairing cracks that are too large for our in-house crack seal that we do, but not large enough to actually remove pavement and replace. It'll seal distresses and remain flexible throughout the life of the product. These areas across town are identified by staff, usually after the winter months. After the treatment's been applied to the street, we go out and identify areas. We did bid it out, and Stripe and Seal of Hayes was the low bidder at $30,500. They have also done this project several years for us here in Hayes. Something a little different to our program this year. We are recommending 2 alleys for reconstruction. These are concrete alleys. They are the West 200 block between 10th and 11th, and the alley in the East 100 block between 5th and 6th. The alleys, as you can obviously, have deteriorated to the point of needing total reconstruction. The 2 alleys, which you can see highlighted here on the bottom left, were bid, and the low bids came in from T&T Builders of Hayes at $124,053.35. Now, last week, a question was asked about concrete alleys. And so I threw in a visual here showing all the concrete alleys in Hayes. In total, we have 4 miles of concrete alleys. All alleys combined, including concrete alleys, we have 54 miles of alleys. And so kind of gives you an idea. Most of them are in the downtown, the older Hayes area. Most of them are in good shape, but like I say, we do have just a handful of them that need reconstruction, like the 2 we're talking about tonight.
Jesse?
Yes.
Good question. Are any of these alleys, were they put in by private entities, or were they all put in by the city, the ones you're identified here?
As far as we know, they were put in by the city.
It wasn't like
or
a
through a
neighborhood
development, right? Right. Most of them, almost all of them, not quite all of them, but most of them are in business districts. Most of them, the traffic in those alleys is primarily a lot of delivery and commercial vehicles, especially in those downtown ones here. Like I say, there's a couple exceptions out there in some residential areas. Those residential ones might have been done through special assessments or other funding that paid for the development, but then they were turned over to the city at that time.
Okay, thank you.
The major rehab project we've identified for 2022 is the reconstruction of 22nd Street from Vine to Allen. This section, as you can see, has been crack sealed. You can see the poly patch on there. It's been chip sealed over the years to help extend the life, but it's now to the time, has reached the limit of those maintenance items and needs reconstruction. Reconstruction will include the street surface and any areas of curb and gutter that need replaced as well. That project was also low bid by T&T Builders of Hayes, and their price was $175,420. Something that we've not done maybe ever as far as bidding it out, our bridge deck repairs. We've done some in-house, but this is one of the first times we've actually bid it out. We have some bridge decks in Hayes that have deteriorated. The concrete has delaminated, basically from the steel in the middle of the bridge deck, and so the concrete the bottom concrete layer and the top concrete layer, they have what we call delaminated or separated. The bridges that we're considering, or that we bid out, are the bridge on East 17th, just east of Harvest Drive. We have the bridge on West 37th over Lincoln Draw, and the bridge on Willow over Skyline. And this project will repair or replace the delaminated concrete on the bridge decks and hopefully prevent future premature failure of the bridges. Last week, a question was asked about the ages of these three bridges that we're looking to repair. As you can see here, West 37th Street, built in 1977, 45 years old. The bridge on East 17th of these three is the newest one at 37 years old. Hard to believe 1985 was 37 years old, or 37 years ago already. And then Willow Street, that was built in 64, so make it about a 60-year-old bridge.
It's only 58. It's only 58 years old.
Okay.
It was a good year for 64.
Was it? I remember that year. Oh,
And ironically, the worst one of these three is the newest one. East 17th is actually the worst bridge. For whatever reason, maybe they don't build them like they used to, I'm not sure. PCI roads, they are actually out of Minnesota, but they do work all over, including in Kansas. They were the low bid for this project at $148,260.75. They will actually be in Ellis County this summer doing bridges for KDOT. And so while they're here, when they're done with the KDOT bridges, they'll be in Hayes doing these three bridges. And so their expected time frame for these three would be in September. We do anticipate the bridge decks to be closed during the work on the bridge. We wouldn't anticipate that more than hopefully a week or two per location. They'll do one at a time. Most of these are in areas that are pretty easily routed around, and like I say, closure will allow them to be done significantly quicker than if they weren't closed.
you told them to only do one at a time, right?
They'll do one at a time, correct?
Except for the Willow.
Yeah.
We're gonna be locked in, I can
Yeah,
tell
I think
already.
you're right.
So we had an area sidewalk included in the bid as well, and this is along Mopar Drive, which is south of Applebee's, just west of Vine Street. The amount being earmarked for special highway was about $55,000, which also includes $10,000 for the sidewalk reimbursement program, and I'll show you a little more detail of that here in just a minute. I'll also talk about in a minute another area sidewalk that we're going to reconstruct this year as well. Here's in the highlighted top of your screen there, you can see the highlighted area of this particular sidewalk, and that was also T&T Builders had a low bid. We had several bidders, and they came in at $13,575. So here's a breakdown of all the various projects and the total costs, not only of each project, but the subtotal and then the bottom line there. So as you can see, if you look at the very bottom highlighted number there, we have a balance remaining of just over $281,000 after bidding out these projects. As you remember, we had just over $1 million budgeted out of special highway. We're actually in the process. In fact, bids were sent out yesterday for some additional projects. We do want to spend that money down that was budgeted in special highway, as we do every year. We will be opening those bids March 1st and getting back in front of you at a work session on March 17th for those additional projects, which I'll show you in just a minute. All these projects are scheduled to be completed no later than the end of 2022. And as with all projects, whether we do them or contractors do them, notifications to adjacent property owners will be done ahead of time and make sure we have the least disruption possible for any of the projects. So I mentioned the bids we put out yesterday. So we have another area of sidewalk. This is on West 27th Street between Thunderbird and Inglewood. That project is anticipated to be an 8-foot wide path. We're actually bidding it at 6 foot with an 8-foot alternate. We're hoping to do the 8-foot sidewalk there, which would hopefully in the future connect to another multi-use path to the south and to the west and then eventually north. In addition to the sidewalk, we're doing several areas of curb and brick. Most notably, the 7th and Ford area is a pretty large area, as well as 10th and Ash and the 1100 block of Fort. So you can see those highlighted in the areas on red here. The Basically, the total projects here we're bidding out actually are a little over 300,000. We've set up the bids, we structured them in such a way that we can add or remove any of the brick areas to stay under our budgeted amount. These will be the options you have this evening. And I've got the shortest action requested of the items tonight, so.
Must be mine.
Sure.
I move that we authorize the city manager to enter contracts for construction as presented in the amount specified to be paid out of the funds identified by staff.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Berg and a second by Commissioner Jacobs. Any more questions or comments for Jesse?
Great.
Excited?
We are too.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you,
you.
Jesse.
Give him a round of applause.
Kim, this is for you.
It's-
Sorry, Kim.
Jeff, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Next up, Commissioner inquiries and comments. Commissioner Barrick.
I would just like to say that, having had a chance to visit all of the city departments, I've been very impressed and I continue to be impressed because every project that comes forward is bid out less than what we've budgeted for it, which means we're doing a good job with our budgeting, and it means that we're always having money either put back into funds for new projects or for the next year so that we're never lacking. And I've been very impressed with all of the city departments when they come up with that. I'm also very happy that we've had the chance to have some sort of tacit support for the school bond by allowing the citizens of the community to make the decision of how they would like to fund the school. And I think it was appropriate, and I appreciate everyone for their comments and support.
Commissioner Jacobs.
I would just again give my personal support to the project, but I want to thank again all the people involved in this process. If you haven't been to any of the meetings, you haven't sat through any of them, there are so many people that have been working on this project for so long. These are people that have real jobs, do lots of things. They're taking their evenings to get this, and I have total faith and trust in what they're doing right now. And I can tell you that doesn't come easy when you really don't know every single person involved, but there is a feeling of confidence in what they've done. And I'm very proud of all of them and proud to support the project.
I also wanted the Bond Vision Committee. I mean, I know quite a few of the people on there, and a lot of them have taken tough questions and went to these meetings and brought up the questions to the board members and to the staff, and just appreciate all the answers they have gotten for the community. And I think they're going to have to even do more to get this passed. But I think you guys have done a great job, and I'm hoping our community will support that. I was going to point this out earlier, and I totally spaced it off. If our sales tax goes to 9.25, basically a comparison to Salina, which is, a lot of our people go to Salina and shop. Garden City right now is 8.95, but that's not counting, the different areas that have specials and stuff like that. So I still think we're going to be comparable to our peer communities. And, I know we all got an email. I think we got 3 emails that I got this week that they sent to all of us, saying we shouldn't do it. And, a couple of them were from out of the community. And, those people from out of our community are very important. And we all, I think, respect that because they're what make Hayes, go. But I guess my answer to those people, we are doing everything in our power up here to continue to get those people to come to Hayes. And, we're building more houses, and, in time we get more people, we're going to get more shopping. And all I will ask is trust in us, and I will promise you, you're going to love the way Hayes is going to look in the next 10, 15 years.
Commissioner Burgess.
Well, I put myself on the spot a little bit. I have a little longer statement, but I do want to make a personal public statement in support of the bond. I will vote yes for the bond itself and for the use of sales tax. I think it just makes basic sense to diversify that stream of repayment for the school across a larger base, online and in-town, in-store shopping. It also allows people that own property not to be the full burden. People shopping can bear that burden, but at the same time, there are people that aren't property owners that can also share in that load and being able to support our schools. I'm not concerned about what the faults are over the last, 10 years ago on those boards or 5 years ago. I believe sitting here with this commission, with the current school board members, I'm even going to wrap in current county commissioners, we're all looking forward for the next 20 years. I participated in the Imagine Ellis County as well on Tuesday. There's over 80 people there from all varieties of parts of the community putting their input and thinking about what do we want Hayes and Ellis County to look like going forward. And the fun part of that discussion and kind of the tough part as those that participated is we weren't allowed to talk about the school and what else do we want. And a big part of that issue is because we're tackling it hopefully right here now and over the next 3 months. But the thing about that is we all know in that discussion, while we weren't talking about schools because, we're tackling it now, that is the linchpin for everything else. So we can have all these other envisions of growing Hayes and Ellis, but without the improvements to our schools, I believe that we're just going to be stuck in that cycle that we've kind of been in the last 20 years of trying to find out how to grow. And so that to me, this is that key. We have to have quality schools on par with our peer communities to be able to attract those people. And again, those ones that were kind of, we want them to come and shop here. I think having quality schools is going to be that attractive piece. Secondly, schools, as we know intuitively, are a generational investment in our community. And so I have no problem thinking about the next 20 or 30 years. I have 3 sons that are all in the public system in different capacities currently. My tenure, and my oldest is 10, and he would certainly immediately see the benefits. A renovated middle school, he'll participate here in the next couple of years, a high school that he'll be a part of. And I believe when Ron Wilson said that initial generation of students that gets to go through new schools gets drawn in and believes in their community that they're being supported and want to maintain and stay in our community, and that would be fantastic from my standpoint. And so as I think about the next 30 years from now when that bond is maybe paid off sooner, but my son at 10 years old, he'll be 40 years old when this bond is paid off. And if his trajectory is similar to mine, he'll be about where I am and have a 10-year-old of his own going through the same school system that we're hopefully investing in today. So that's that generational piece. Do we benefit from today? Yes. Do I benefit as a parent for my kids? Yes. But by the time we pay that off, the next generation, I don't want my kids. Everybody, you don't want your kids to go any faster than it is. But that next generation, which would be my grandchildren, can hopefully say that I made that decision to help put the facilities in place for them. I don't see that as passing a burden down either. I see that as of raising a generation of a shared investment that builds equity in our community. So again, my son being 40 years old, hopefully he's a homeowner of his own. He will have the same property taxes that we may be having on ours, but that's going back into the schools that he gets to benefit from. He's certainly a consumer already when he's in his 20s, part of that sales tax, and those are the benefits that I see. I just see it as an investment in our community that's much larger than one individual's needs on trying to save a little bit on their property tax or sales tax. So that's my full statement as far as my support. Anybody that has questions, wants to know, or doubts the benefit of the schools can certainly bring it up to me, and I will continue to raise these as my points. Thank you,
Commissioner. I also would like to voice my support for both initiatives. We're at a very interesting time for our community. I think we're finally at that point where instead of talking about what we've been wanting for a long time, we want houses, we want new schools, we want more jobs coming. I think we're finally at that point where we might have those three pieces finally coming together to make that rope to pull us out, which is a fantastic feeling to almost see it in action. It's not going to happen overnight, never will. But if we continue pushing this forward, these kind of issues that are not just kind of fix it, like we kind of have that mindset of, oh, well, we'll take care of it the next generation. No, it's time for us to invest, and I think we finally are. We're seeing new homes be built, workforce housing up on Tallgrass. We have the school bond that's coming forward. We have a lot of wonderful businesses here in town that are growing and booming, and it's wonderful seeing this kind of investment that's being made into our community. Ellis County is an amazing place. It will continue to be an amazing place, and I think if we continue to work with our relationship with this board, which I think is, it's a fantastic board to be on. I think we're doing a really good job of trying to work together and think forward and not focus on things in the past. We're going to move forward and move things in the right direction. The county commission has been wonderful to work alongside, and the school board is doing a fantastic job too. It's time, and I think we're finally moving forward. So I appreciate everybody's support in the community. If we can keep moving forward like this, nothing will hold Ellis County and Hayes back. So very excited for the future. I don't believe we have any executive sessions. So with that, I will adjourn at 7:31.